everyone, it's Gina K from Gina K Designs and your host of Stamp TV. And today on Stamp TV, I'm going to show you a fun background technique that adds color and texture to your card projects. This technique uses bubble wrap. Many of you have commented on the bubble wrap that we use when we package the Gina K Designs orders. We have two different sizes of bubble wrap. We have large bubble wrap and we have small bubble wrap. This is the small bubble wrap, and this is what I'm going to use today to make my background pieces. I'm going to start off with some Peach Bellini ink, and I'm going to do a direct to bubble wrap technique by just patting this color all over the surface of this piece of bubble wrap. And as you apply the ink, just make sure you do a large enough area so that the entire piece of cardstock will get covered. So here's a piece of cardstock, and I'm just laying this on top of the bubble wrap, and then I'm going to use a scrap piece of paper on top. I'm going to rub my hand all over the surface of this scrap piece of paper, and I'm doing the transfer in a very similar way that I use for background stamps. Now you can see all of that cute texture and pattern on that piece of cardstock. The next technique I want to show you is a rainbow technique, and you can also do this technique using ink cubes. So I'm going to start with some red velvet, and I'm just kind of doing a streak across the bubble wrap. Then I'm using some tangerine twist, and I blended it just a bit up into the last color. Same with the wild dandelion. I'm also going to use some lucky clover, and I'm going to use some blue lagoon. Now I'm going to take a piece of cardstock and I'm going to lay it face down onto my rainbow of ink. And I'm going to take that same scrap piece of paper, put it on top, and rub my hand all over the surface of that cardstock. This gives you a fun rainbow look that's perfect for kids' cards or any bright sunshiny cards you want to make. You can reuse this bubble wrap over and over again just by cleaning it with the tidy towel. I cleaned across, and now I'm cleaning up and down, and then I'm just going to use a piece of paper towel to dry it so the ink doesn't get diluted by any water. Now this technique I'm going to do on a diagonal, so I'm starting with some blue lagoon, and then I'm going to switch back and forth between blue lagoon and lucky clover. And I am doing a little bit of blending between the two colors, and it doesn't really hurt your ink cubes. If you get a little bit of ink of the other color onto your ink cube, you can just rub the ink cube on a piece of scrap paper and that color will come off. So it really doesn't hurt your ink. So now that I have my diagonal color, I'm going to lay that cardstock down and once again put a piece of scrap paper on top and rub all over the surface. This gives you a really cool two-tone look, and it's very soft, and I love it on an angle like this. So now I'm going to create a card out of that Peach Bellini panel. And I'm going to use the double-stitched oval. This is the largest oval in the ThermoWeb and Gina K Designs double-stitched pack. I'm going to lay it right in the center of that piece of cardstock, and I'm going to cut it out using my Spellbinders Platinum machine. So once I have it in place, I'm going to send it through the machine. Now, if you're concerned about it moving at all, you can always secure it down with a little bit of purple tape. So once that's cut out, now I have a frame, and I also have an oval that I'm going to use for another project. So don't throw that oval away. You can use those. Now I have a smaller piece of cardstock, and I'm going to lay that on top to show you that the edges don't come out around the outside of that. I'm going to use the single-stitched oval, and this is the middle size oval from the single-stitched pack by Gina K Designs and ThermoWeb. What I'm doing is I'm creating an inner border for the larger oval so that it's going to be framed out in the center. So this is a smaller oval than that original one that I cut out, and this is going to give me a perfect framed look. And of course, I'm going to keep that oval for another project. And you can see when you layer these together, you get a nice framed look on the inside. So to adhere these together, I'm going to use some Connect glue. I've chosen to use the Connect glue because when I'm adhering these two pieces together, I want it to be pretty forgiving, just in case it's not even all the way around. I want to be able to wiggle it into place. I want to be able to pick it up and move it. And the Connect glue is very forgiving. It gives you quite a bit of wiggle room before it dries and becomes permanent. But it's still a great sticky glue for adhering die cut pieces and other things like that together. So now I'm going to pick up this frame and I'm going to lay it right on top of this other panel that I created. And I'm going to carefully place that down, and that looks pretty good. So I'm going to press it all down and then just give it a few minutes to dry. Now once that's all dry, I'm going to use some of the Gina K Designs and ThermoWeb foam tape. I really like this foam tape because it's not too high. It's got a nice low loft, but it still creates dimension, and there's enough of a loft that you could even turn this into a shaker card if you wanted to. This loft makes it easy to mail these to because your cards don't get too fat. So I'm just putting this all around the four edges of this panel. And I'm just cutting it with some of my little mini Tim Holtz shears. Once I have all of the panels covered, I'm just going to place that on top of a larger piece of cardstock, and there I have some nice dimension on that frame. Now I've popped that whole frame into my MISTI, and I'm going to stamp a greeting inside. And I really like to wait until the card is almost assembled to add the greeting on the inside, because then I know it's got perfect placement. And as long as you don't get ink all over the outside of your stamp, you'll be perfectly fine. You won't get any ink anywhere you don't want it. So I'm going to use the Gina K Designs Black Onyx ink. This is our dye ink. It's a nice solid coverage. You can also use the Gina K Designs Amalgam ink for this. And I'm going to stamp that right into place. And you can see the nice rich coverage that our dye inks give. So now I'm going to use a life-changing brush and some Peach Bellini ink over a butterfly that I stamped with the Gina K Designs embossing and watermark ink, and then I embossed this butterfly using our white fine detail powder. This is a beautiful technique. It's the emboss resist look, and these life-changing brushes really help you to get beautiful even coverage when you're doing this technique. So now I have that done, and I've cut this butterfly out using the coordinating die that's in the Elegant Asters card kit. Next I'm going to apply some foam squares, but just up at the top of the butterfly where it's going to sink down into that frame. On the edges, I'm going to use the Gina K Designs and ThermoWeb adhesive dot runner just along the edges. Then I'm going to peel off the liners of those foam squares, and I'm going to apply that butterfly onto my card. And the foam squares have the same loft as the foam tape, so everything is going to be exactly at the same height, and it's going to be a perfect fit. So there's my finished card, all ready to go. Now I'm going to show you what I did with that oval, because I made another card with the oval that we cut out of that frame. Here I've just used a little bit of adhesive dot runner to secure the oval onto my MISTI, and I'm also using the magnet. I'm going to use the You Are Loved greeting from the Elegant Asters card kit, and I'm going to place that greeting at the top of the oval. Now the reason why I add that little bit of tape is because I am doing a greeting, and if I have to restamp it, I really want to make sure that that oval doesn't shift. And the adhesive dot runner is great because it leaves absolutely no residue on the mat of my MISTI. I've inked the stamp up with black onyx ink, and then I'm just transferring that ink onto that oval. And here's the second card that I made using that oval. For the rainbow background, I used the Wishes die and the birthday greeting from the Little Wishes mini set, and I used elements from the Elegant Asters stamp set and dies. And for the diagonal two-tone piece, I used some of the flowers and leaves and then finished it off by die cutting the big Hello die in black onyx cardstock. Creating backgrounds with bubble wrap is fun and easy to do, and it's quite economical. If you don't have any bubble wrap at home, you can always pick some up at the post office or at your local shipping store. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and I hope you'll give these techniques a try. Here's a couple other videos you might be interested in, and please hit the subscribe button and notification bell for more. Thanks for watching. See you soon.